Today, we are diving deep into a topic that I think affects nearly every professional in the global economy: mastering business English.
Really does.
Our mission, as always, is to take this huge stack of dense source material, articles, research, all these communication guides, and just pull out the essential, actionable insights that you actually need.
It's like a shortcut.
Exactly, a linguistic shortcut to being well-informed and, more importantly, well communicated in your professional life.
And it's true, when professionals think about business English, especially if it's not their first language, they see this massive mountain to climb.
Right, like you suddenly have to sound like you're debating at Oxford.
Exactly. But the research we've looked at, it all shows that this isn't about general fluency. It's about mastering a very precise, um, a very predictable set of tools, phrases, vocabulary protocols.
So it's more like a toolkit than a whole new language.
It's functional language. It's
Mm.
designed for efficiency and professionalism, period.
Absolutely. And the sources we've gathered are fantastic for this because they don't treat it like some academic exercise. They break it down into the areas we all live in at work.
The daily grind.
Yeah, the anatomy of professional emails, the dynamics of meetings and presentations, the very specific etiquette for phone calls, and of course, the vocabulary you need. So the goal for you, the learner, is to walk away from this deep dive with a fully loaded, ready-to-use linguistic toolkit.
I like that. A toolkit.
Okay, let's unpack this. If we agree that you can't just tackle the entire language at once, where's the most effective place to start? Where do you get the highest immediate return on your effort?
You start where the volume is,
Yeah,
and that's written communication, specifically your email inbox.
makes sense.
Our sources are, well, they're unanimous on this. Emails are the daily, constant backbone of modern business. Competence here is just, it's non-negotiable.
And if you struggle with emails, you risk slowing everything down.
You slow down projects,
Yeah.
you create confusion, and you might signal a lack of professionalism right from the get-go.
Okay, so let's start there. What immediately jumps out from the material is this need for a fundamental psychological shift when you go from casual English to professional writing.
Yes, it's more than just the words. It's the implied relationship you're creating.
And we see that most clearly in the basics, right? Like
Yeah.
the greeting and the closing.
Exactly. So with your friends, hi or hey is totally fine. But in a business context, especially with someone new or someone senior, you have to use a bit more formality. That means moving to Dear Mr. Smith or Dear Miss Chen.
So let's talk about that formality. Dear can sound, a little old-fashioned to some people. Are we talking about rigid, old-school rules, or is there some
Yeah.
flexibility?
Oh, there is absolutely a gradient, and that's where the real nuance comes in. For a first contact or any external email, that formal address, Dear Mr. or Ms. Surname, is pretty much mandatory.
It's a sign of respect.
It's a sign of universal respect.
Yeah.
But once you've exchanged a few emails, and maybe they start signing off with just their first name, then the formality can drop. You can move to Dear John or Hello, John.
Okay, so the key is you let them set the tone.
You let them dictate the shift. You don't jump in starting with hey.
Got it. And that same idea applies to closings. We're replacing Sia with something that has a bit more weight.
Right. The sources lay out a clear hierarchy here. If you want maximum top-level professionalism, you use sincerely or sincerely yours.
But does sincerely feel a bit like you're signing a legal document now? I mean, in a fast-paced company, could that sound a little outdated?
That's a great question, and it really speaks to how business communication is evolving. Sincerely does signal a much higher level of formality. You'd probably reserve it for, I don't know, an official offer letter or resignation.
Okay, not for asking about the quarterly report.
Exactly. For the daily back and forth, the industry standard is really best regards or kind regards. They're efficient, they're polite, and everyone understands them as professional.
So best regards is kind of the workhorse.
It's the workhorse. It balances professionalism with speed perfectly.
All right, so those are the bookends, the opening and closing. What about the actual content? I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking professional means complicated.
And it's the total opposite. The absolute enemy of good business communication is ambiguity and time-wasting fluff.
So clarity and directness.
Clarity and directness. In business, brevity is a virtue. And the sources point to this really useful tool called the executive summary sentence.
Explain that. That sounds like something you need to know.
It's the very first sentence of your email, right after the greeting, and it states the entire purpose of the message. So instead of a long wind-up, you just write, I am writing to request an urgent review of the Q3 budget proposal by end of day Friday.
Ah, so you lead with the action item, the core purpose.
Precisely. Because if your boss is reading it on their phone, they might only see those first 2 lines. Now they know exactly what you need. The rule is simple. Avoid long, complicated sentences. Get straight to the point.
And simple is often better, especially if you're still learning the language.
Absolutely. You reduce your own risk of making a mistake, and you maximize clarity for the reader. It's a win-win. Simple is efficient.
Okay, so once we've got a handle on the written word, we have to step into that high-stakes arena of real-time speech, meetings and presentations.
Yeah, this is where the anxiety really kicks in for a lot of people. There's no backspace button in a meeting.
No undo.
But just like with emails, meetings are governed by very predictable, functional phrases. If you have those phrases down, you can navigate the whole thing much more easily. It's about that meeting toolkit.
So let's build the toolkit. Starting at the beginning, if you're running the meeting, what are those reliable opening phrases?
You need to signal a clear shift from small talk to business. Simple is best. Good morning, everyone. Let's start the meeting. Or, thank you all for being here. Let's get started. It just sets a serious tone right away.
And then the challenge becomes how to participate, right? How do you add your own ideas without just, talking over someone?
This is a classic problem.
Hmm.
It can be really cultural. In some places, interrupting is incredibly rude.
Hmm.
But in some fast-paced meetings, if you wait for a perfect pause,
You'll never get to speak.
you'll never speak. So the sources offer a few ways in. For a polite, sort of gentle entry, you can say, if I may jump in here for a moment, or I have a point to add to that.
Okay, so that's the soft approach. What if things are moving faster?
Then you can be a little firmer, but still polite. Excuse me, I have an idea that connects to this point. Or, my personal favorite, you clarify first. Just to clarify, are we talking about the Q3 results? Because if so, I have a thought.
I like that structure. You have a polite opening, you connect to the conversation, and then you add your value. It shows you're listening.
Exactly.
But what about the opposite problem? What if someone is speaking too quickly, or you're having trouble with their accent, and you're just lost?
You have to ask. You must prioritize understanding over, the fear of interrupting.
Mhm.
It is always okay to ask for clarification. In fact, it's your professional responsibility.
People would rather you ask than have you make a mistake later because you didn't understand.
100%. Never, ever. Just nod along if you're lost.
So what are the best phrases for that? How do you stop the conversation respectfully?
You want phrases that are a little apologetic but firm. I'm sorry, but could you please repeat that last point? I didn't quite catch that. Or if it's a concept, could you explain the implications of that again, please?
The key words there seem to be could you and please.
They smooth everything over. They turn an interruption into a request for help, which people are almost always happy to provide.
Okay, let's shift to presentations. This is where you have all the control, but also all the pressure.
For presentations, it's all about strong bookends. A strong start and a strong finish. Your opening needs to grab attention and set the scope.
So what does that sound like?
Something reliable like, hello everyone, my name is Naeem, and today I'm going to talk about our new marketing strategy. Or, welcome everyone, over the next 20 minutes we will discuss the Q4 financial outlook.
You're giving the audience a roadmap right up front.
Yes, and that makes you sound structured and prepared. Then for the closing, you need to wrap it up and invite engagement.
So you summarize.
Briefly. In summary, we've covered X, Y, and Z. Then you transition. Thank you for your attention. That concludes my presentation. And the crucial final step is inviting questions.
Right. Do you have any questions? Or I'd be happy to answer any question.
It shows confidence. It shows you're open to discussion.
This all just reinforces that idea of the linguistic toolkit. If you have these phrases for opening, interrupting, clarifying, and closing, you spend Less mental energy on the language.
And more on the actual content of your message. That's the whole point. We're replacing stressful improvisation with reliable structure.
Okay, next step. Maybe the most difficult arena for a lot of professionals, the business phone call.
Ugh, yes, because you lose all the nonverbal cues.
Hmm.
No body language, no facial expressions.
Plus, you're dealing with, bad connections, delays, and trying to understand accents without seeing the person's mouth.
The technical side is a huge hurdle. So every single word has to be articulated so clearly. Rushing is a total disaster on the phone.
Which is why the etiquette is so rigid, right? To make sure the basic information gets through.
It has to be. The standard greeting, for example, instantly identifies three things:
Hmm.
the company, you, and an offer to help.
So something like, "Good morning, ABC Corp. This is Name speaking. How may I help you?"
Perfect. It's quick, professional, and there's zero ambiguity. The caller knows they're in the right place.
And in return, you often need to ask who's calling, but you have to do it politely.
Right, you never say, "Who is this?" or "Who are you?" The language is intentionally indirect to show respect.
So what are the go-to phrases?
"May I ask who's calling, please?"
Mhm.
Or, "Who am I speaking with today?" Using "may I" just completely changes the tone from a demand to a polite request.
A huge part of phone calls is also just managing when someone isn't there.
Yes, you need clear phrases to handle that and then pivot to taking a message. You state it directly: "I'm sorry, Mr. Smith is unavailable right now," or "He's in a meeting."
But you don't give too many details.
No, never. Just state the fact, then immediately pivot. "Would you like to leave a message?" Or, "Can I take a message for him?"
Those two phrases feel fundamental. Can I take a message? And would you like to leave a message?
They are. They're clear, functional, and they put the ball back in the caller's court.
And what if you need to transfer someone?
You have to tell them what you're doing. Reassure them. "Please hold, I'll connect you," or "One moment, please."
Mm.
Short, confident phrases are key.
Let's talk about the core problem, though. Bad audio. You can't hear a critical piece of information, a name, a number. What do you do?
This is where you have to get very specific. If you can't hear a word, especially a name, you ask them to spell it, and ideally you'd use the NATO phonetic alphabet to avoid confusion.
So instead of someone spelling D and you hearing B or E,
You'd say D as in Delta, E as in Echo, L as in Lima. It sounds very professional, and it completely eliminates errors.
that's a great tip. And what about with numbers?
With numbers, the key is to slow down and pause. If you're reading a long account number, pause every 3 or 4 digits. And always, always ask them to read it back to confirm. "Could you please read that number back to me?"
So my biggest takeaway here is about pacing. Don't rush. If you consciously slow down your speaking speed, you give your listener time to process, and you give yourself time to choose the right words.
Exactly. That slowness isn't hesitation. It's a sign of control and clarity. That's what you're aiming for.
Okay, so we've built the frameworks for emails, meetings, and calls. But those frameworks need the right vocabulary to work. Let's start with the most critical area: numbers, dates, and times.
Yes, miscommunication with numbers can be, financially catastrophic, so you have to practice this. Percentages, decimals, large amounts of money.
And there are some common trip-ups, right? Like differentiating between 13 and 30.
Oh, that one's huge. The key is the stress. With 13, the stress is on the second syllable. With 30, it's on the first. You almost have to exaggerate it when you're practicing.
And what about saying large numbers, like millions or thousands?
The trick is to add a tiny natural pause. So instead of rushing through 50,345,000, you should say 50,345,000. That rhythm makes it so much easier for the listener to process.
That makes a lot of sense. And with dates and times, it's about the small words, the prepositions.
Yes. A meeting is at a time, on a day, in a month. The meeting is at 2:30 p.m. on Friday in June. Getting those small words right is a huge signal of fluency.
Moving on from numbers, let's talk about the daily office words. Not basic things like computer, but the more nuanced professional terms.
Right. It's about knowing the difference between a report, a memo, and a brief. They aren't the same thing.
Hmm.
A report is a deep analysis. A memo is a short internal note. Using the right term for the right document matters.
And the same goes for people, for job titles.
Absolutely. You need to know the basics, of course. Manager, director, CEO. But also the functional roles. HR manager, legal counsel, chief marketing officer. Using the correct title shows you understand and respect the organization.
And this all leads us to what feels like the most important cultural lesson from all of our source material.
The power of politeness.
Yes. If business English has one single defining feature, it's this focus on indirect, polite, conditional language.
This cannot be overstated. In this context, politeness isn't just about being nice. It's a strufner. It's a structural tool for lowering risk and showing professional respect. Please, thank you, excuse me. They're non-negotiable.
I do want to push back on this a little because this is a real challenge for people from more direct cultures. Doesn't using all these "could you please" and "would it be possible" phrases make you sound, I don't know, a bit weak or subservient?
That is the #1 misconception,
Yeah.
and it's a totally understandable one. But in many English-speaking business cultures, like the US and the UK, direct commands sound aggressive, even if that's not your intent at all.
So using conditional language isn't a sign of weakness.
It's a sign of control. It's a sign of high professional decorum. It's you saying, I respect you, and I'm requesting your collaboration, not, I am ordering you to do this.
The sources had some really clear contrast examples. The difference in tone is huge.
It's night and day. Take a simple command. Send me the report by Tuesday. It sounds like a demand.
It's very direct.
The polite, professional alternative is, could you please send me the report by Tuesday? Or even softer. Would it be possible for you to get the report to me by Tuesday? You've turned a command into a collaborative request.
And the other one was about urgency instead of "I need this budget approved immediately."
Which just sounds like you're panicking and demanding.
Right.
The professional version is, I would greatly appreciate it if you could approve the budget as soon as possible. It still communicates urgency, but it does it with respect. Mastering this one shift is probably the biggest leap forward you can make.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. For our last section, let's talk about strategy and confidence. And a big part of that in today's world is dealing with global accents.
In any big company, your meeting is going to have English spoken by people from all over the world, Mandarin speakers, Spanish speakers, Hindi speakers. It requires you to train your ear.
So what are the practical steps for that, beyond just listen to more English?
You need targeted listening. Don't just listen to BBC or CNN. Go find business podcasts or webinars from India, from Germany, from Singapore. Train your ear to the different rhythms, the different vowel sounds.
So you're reducing that initial shock when you hear an accent you're not used to. Familiarity makes it easier to understand.
Exactly. And the other trick is to focus on the key words. When you're listening, really lock in on the nouns, the verbs, the numbers. You can usually figure out the rest of the sentence from the context, even if you miss a few smaller words.
So let's synthesize this. What are the top 3 learning tips from all our sources for someone who wants to start right now?
Okay, tip #1 is to prioritize need. Stop trying to learn everything at once. Figure out where you spend most of your time. If it's 80% emails, spend 80% of your study time on email phrases.
Target your learning for the biggest impact. I like it. What's number 2?
#2 reinforces our main theme. Master politeness. This is a quick win. Actively choose 5 direct phrases you use all the time and replace them with 5 polite, conditional alternatives. Write them on a sticky note. Practice them until they're automatic.
And the third tip?
Tip #3 is for long-term growth. Active listening and mimicry. Pay really close attention to how the most effective communicators in your company speak. How do they disagree politely? How do they ask for things? When you hear a phrase or a structure that sounds good, steal it.
That's a great point. It's about modeling what actually works in your specific environment, not just what a textbook says.
And all this preparation is the ultimate cure for low confidence. Confidence doesn't come from perfect grammar. It comes from having those reliable phrases ready to go when you need them.
So if you have a big presentation, you should actually practice it out loud.
Yes. Spend 30 minutes saying your opening, your key transitions, and your closing out loud in English. You're building that linguistic muscle memory.
So even if you get nervous, you can fall back on that practice.
Exactly. People appreciate clarity and effort far more than they penalize a small grammatical mistake. The goal is just to be effective.
Well, we've covered so much, from the tiny details of an email sign-off to the big dynamics of a global phone call. Business English, it seems, isn't this giant, scary obstacle. It's a manageable challenge. It's about using specific tools with politeness and with tact.
It's a journey, one polished phrase at a time.
That's a great way to put it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, effective business English isn't just about language. It's about signaling your respect, your preparedness, and your professionalism through the communication choices you make. It fundamentally changes how you're perceived by colleagues around the world.
So you now have a detailed blueprint and that linguistic toolkit we talked about. The biggest challenge now isn't learning 1,000 new words. It's actively replacing those direct, casual phrases we all use with the smoother, more effective language of business politeness. So what is one direct phrase? Maybe it's "send me the data" that you will actively replace with a polite alternative. Could you please forward the data? This week, start that active replacement today and watch your professional communications soar.